Welcome to The Ripple Within, a podcast by All-in-One Life Coaching. I'm Michelle, a certified life coach specializing in mindset, emotional wellness, and the law of attraction. I work with people to help create the narrative around their desired outcome.
And I'm Kathy. I'm here to ask the questions, explore the patterns, and share the real life moments that make this all, make sense.
This podcast is about the connection between how we feel and the physical reality we experience every day. We'll explore how our thoughts lead to outcomes and how narrative shifts can create big change.
We'll keep it grounded using logic and lived experience, not just theory. And if you've ever wondered why you feel stuck, reactive, or out of sync with yourself, you're not alone.
Our life experience will always match how we feel. This podcast is about exploring our ripple within, how our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and values contribute to the physical life we live. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everyone. All right, Kathy, what are we talking about today?
Let's talk about something that everybody gets to do. What happens when you say no to anything? It can be to going out with friends, maybe it's to your kids, maybe it's to your parents, maybe it's to friends you haven't seen in a while. It could be work, it could be absolutely anything in your life.
Yeah, that's such a good one too, because as you said, we all do it. We've all said it. Let's talk about the word for a second, and then we'll get into it from a law of attraction perspective. So if we're the word no, would you say that's in the lower end of the bucket or the upper?
Lower.
Right. So we can tell just by the word itself moves us below the satisfaction line. So the word itself is contributing to that feeling of lack or discomfort, that negative feeling that overcomes us. And that makes sense because the word in itself means can't have, won't do it, shouldn't, couldn't, aren't gonna. So the word itself just means like there's something we can't do versus something we can do. If we were saying no, let's pick an example of something so we can get some context. So pick an example of where no was used, maybe in your experience or something you've heard.
A friend texts and says, hey, we haven't gotten together for a while. We've both been super busy. How about Friday? And in that moment, I'm not feeling it.
Yep.
I'm not feeling like I want to go anywhere. Too many other things in my mind of what I need to do around home.
Yep.
So in that moment, as much as I love them, in that moment, going somewhere not make me happy. And saying no is a real challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real challenge. You and and I think that's where the complications it comes from. You don't want them to feel bad. You don't want them to necessarily stop asking, but you say no enough times, they're going to stop asking.
Okay. So it's such a good example because that too happens to all of us where we get invited to do something and we maybe even in the earlier in the week been like, yeah, I'm there. And then by Friday, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this anymore. So it's interesting because, and we all do this when we're explaining it as, oh, I don't want to say no. And I feel obligated and stuff. So it becomes really tricky, right?
Obligation.
So
Yep. Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Let's dig into that a little deeper because you said some really good things right before that. There's a lot on my plate. There's some things I need to take care of. I have all this stuff on the go. I'm committed to doing this over here for whatever reason that might be. So when we look at it like that, are we really saying no to something, or are we choosing to do something else?
Yes, there are times when letting all the cats on the bag today. There are times where I say no just because I don't wanna. I mean,
So,
there's nothing on the go, and then yes, you feel obligated is a fantastic word. Feel obligated to say no. I you know don't feel it. Got other stuff. Whatever the excuse is that I
yeah,
make to myself to be happy because I know it's the right decision. I know it's the right decision in that moment because I'm not feeling good. Maybe I'm whatever, sad, depressed, whatever it is. And
yep,
I just don't want to. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Then I don't want them to feel bad for me saying no. So then sometimes maybe make up shit so that you know what I mean? So that they don't feel bad that you said no, which opens up a whole nother can of BS that you should never really worry about, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit more too, because that's also really common where we don't want to say no because we don't want them to feel bad. But we talk a lot about that very thing here where we love them so much, we're not making decisions on behalf of them. We're making those decisions on behalf of how I'm going to participate. So even with, I just don't want to, still means that's coming from the negative bucket. I don't want to. There's a couple of negative connotations in that, right? So it's still not going to feel good from there. Versus saying something like, I appreciate so much the offer, I'm going to stay home. I appreciate the offer. Thank you for thinking about me. Thank you for the offer. And I'll catch you another time. Thank you for the offer. Appreciate the invite. All of those sentences above, where we can then either not give a reason, because I'm not quite sure why we think we need to give a reason not to attend
I
something.
think, yeah, but I think lots of people do, right? Like,
Exactly.
everybody does it. Everybody does it.
Well, and I think a little bit we do it because we feel conditioned to do it. Like we feel like we owe you an explanation. So that again is tricky because it means we're playing again in the rabbit hole. The reality is, true friendships, people who live primarily from well being, people who are unconditional, if you say you're not going, that's not affecting their day. Let's clean that up
Yeah.
just a little bit, because if we were going to a wedding and we were the maid of honor at a wedding, and then all of a sudden that morning we were like, you know what, I just really don't feel like doing this today.
Yep.
We'd be pushing some boundaries there about whether or not we were behaving truly from well-being. So, from our perspective, there is no right or wrong. There is more of, how am I going to participate in this dynamic? So, I get invited to an event, even if earlier in the week I was like, yeah, I'm there. And then Friday comes along and we're just not feeling it. What prevents us as human beings in going, you know what? I appreciate so much that invite, but I'm truly living in the rabbit hole at the moment. And feel best keeping that to myself for the time being, or whatever the case may be, because we need to take care of us first and then go do something. So, and it still doesn't mean we don't have to go. It just means that while we're making those decisions, so we remember we have an invite for Friday. It's 3 o'clock Friday afternoon. I'm getting off work. I'm checking in with myself. And then I'm like, oh, I got to go do this thing that I'm supposed to go do. And I really don't want to go, but I have to go because I'm worried about what they think or might think. versus us being able to go, okay, it's Thursday, I'm done work, how am I feeling? I'm a little bit rabbit hole-ish. Why am I rabbit hole-ish? Well, I'm kind of focused on all this other stuff that's going on. I just really don't want to go. Again, we're going to feel that tighten, right? I don't want to go, versus being able to say, I'm going to take some time for me. They're wonderful people. They get it. They understand. They're not going to put pressure on me. I'm not going to put pressure on myself to be something that I can't find at the moment. And then in that process, what you might discover is as you're giving yourself a break from not wanting to go and giving them a break for giving you peace of mind for not wanting to go, we start moving up the chain. And then you might hear yourself say, you know what, it might not be that bad. And I can just go for an hour and have some fun and get to visit. And then we end up going having a ball.
I was just going to say, in those thoughts, when you're thinking you don't want to go, isn't the opposite true as well? Because if you tell yourself, you've always had fun with these people before. They make you laugh. You make them laugh. Like, couldn't we, I mean, even after all those thoughts, we could still go, no, I don't want to go. But if we could
Yeah.
talk ourselves into, but then in my head, it gets a little tricky because if you're not completely there when you decide you're going to go, and maybe you're not acting quite yourself, maybe you're quiet when you're, you know, maybe the life of the party, or whatever it is, or maybe you overcompensate when you're there. Couldn't that get a little tricky too?
Yeah, so you said something really key in that. If we're a little bit in the rabbit hole about not wanting to go, doesn't it mean we want the opposite, which is true, but that doesn't necessarily mean going. It means we want an opposite state of being to where we currently are of not wanting to go. So we're looking for the opposite state of being of not wanting to go. That doesn't necessarily mean that all of a sudden I'm like, woo, I'm going to go and have the best time. What it means, though, is we want to be able to find some peace of mind. It means we want to be able to find a little bit of clarity about the importance of being able to stay in and one's own self-care. It might mean to having that conversation with oneself. It's when we do that, however, then we get to discover truly about whether or not we want to go. Because if we're still feeling like we might be a bump on the log or we might behave in a way that would make it worse if we get there, then we're still not ready to go.
It needs to be unconditional. The
It has to
decision?
be.
Yeah.
It just has to be unconditional from a well-being perspective. And that still might mean I appreciate the offer. I'll see you next time. It still might mean that. But it means that that's a better state of being for you, a feel better state of being in the moment than forcing yourself to go do something you really don't want to do. And it's interesting. Please go
No,
ahead.
no, no. Carry on. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I was going to say it's interesting how in our society that we talk a lot about being able to say no and have some of those self-respecting boundaries and boundaries of others when they say no,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And that no needs to be unconditional. It just needs to be unconditional, because if it's not, that's when we start placing blame and holding other people accountable and doing things that are maybe inappropriate or just truly unacceptable behaviors and stuff, because we're putting this wrongness on being able to say, I would rather do something else.
I'm going to tweak it just a little bit. Let's talk a little
Please.
bit about family, parents,
Okay.
and children. And
Yeah.
in this wonderful world that we live in that keeps progressing
Yep.
with AI and phones and tablets and all that sort of thing, it's got to be a challenge being a parent in this day and age, and being able to have the ability to say no and set boundaries. And I get it, that's their job. But when Joe Blowout down the street or all the kids they go to school with have, and maybe that child or has doesn't have, like, that's automatic rabbit hole. So for those parents to be able to say no, and I get why they do, it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough, especially when there's, you know, I mean, the discipline when I was a kid and the discipline now are like vastly different. Like now, what, you
Yeah.
take away their cell phone, you take away their video game, like it's vastly different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it's vastly different. What I truly would encourage everybody is never saying no again, is being able to say, because whenever we say no, there's a reason for it.
Right.
I used to do this early on in coaching. Instead of telling children they can't play in the street, don't go play in the street. You can't be in the street. Don't do that. Don't do this. Instead of saying, don't go play in the street, we could say, I'd like you to play in the yard. Yeah, but why, Mom? Why? Well, for a couple of reasons. In the yard, your safety is the utmost importance. Within the yard, you're more likely to be able to play and have fun and be free of worry of cars, be free of worry of neighbors. In the yard opens the opportunity for me as your parent to feel a little bit more comfortable that you are in fact being safe. It shows that I can trust you and that you have the ability to make good decisions because you have all of the information. So we're not saying, no, you can't go play in the street. What we're saying is this is a better option over here. But still, I would like you to make the decision. So what would feel better for you to do? Play in the street, potentially get hit by a car, have parents worry, have me yelling and screaming at you from the kitchen or the living room, or you make a conscious decision to be where it's safe and so on and so forth. Which one would you prefer?
With technology and phones and screen time and good
It would
heavens.
it would be the same thing. And first, we have to expand as fast as we can with the technology. We can't compare generational gaps now. There's just too much change in that. Like over the last 70 years, we've experienced more change, arguably, than the previous few billion years before that. Granted, how magnificent that is. I'm just talking about human awareness and structure and growth and technological advances and discovery of minerals and that kind of thing. That's actually relatively new in the human experience. So just like with technology, if it is about screen time, first of all, we need to have our facts around that. What is our belief system? What do the experts truly say about that screen time? What does it affect in the human brain? What are the downfalls? What are the negatives so that we can go find the solution, the positive? The what else can we do? But simply telling a child, especially now because they are incredibly intelligent, these kids, everything is at their fingertips, so they'll find a way to challenge you regardless. So if we're telling a child they can't do something, we need to give them the why. And it can't be because I said so. That just does not fly anymore.
Ain't
I
that
mean,
true?
when we
Yeah.
were little, we would be okay, fine, and we turn around and walk away. Kids aren't doing that right now. They're probably never going to be doing that again because there's just too much information out there for them now. They have a lot more gumption to be able to speak their mind and ask more questions, which we've encouraged. Even our generation, we might not have been able to say it, but man, we sure wish we could have.
Yeah.
And even if we look back, which again, we don't like encouraging people to do, we would say that now. I wish I would have said something. Kids nowadays, they're just more likely to say it. And then they have us Gen Xers going, wow, I never would have been able to say that.
They
Right?
definitely challenge more for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And we got to kind of love that a little bit because we are learning and growing and expanding as a result of it too. So again, if we really do have a belief system and there is data to show, factual data by reputable science, peer reviewed, falsifiable data, not just somebody you're watching on the internet, like put it
Yeah.
into practice, right? Like go do some research. And as long as we're looking at that data, we can explain to a child the importance of doing something else. But we also got, again, as we've said before, we have to take part in the doing something else.
Yeah.
Whether maybe it's building something or going to the park or drawing or whatever it is, we need to take part in that.
And find other avenues for your child's creativity and talents. Maybe you
100%.
all go as a family to the, I don't know, zoo or museum, or rather than, you know, I know that there's lots of people concerned about, the lack of, yeah, socialization and stuff with kids, but still go to school, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
social. They, go to friends' houses maybe, or
Well, and what are parents doing? So the ones who are complaining, and this is something again we like to encourage and talk to people about. If you're the one complaining, then you're the one with the solution. So for parents who are complaining that there's too much screen time, it would be prudent to have a list of activities from those parents of which they're willing to participate in the betterment of that child. Are we hosting community events? Are we going to the park and inviting a bunch of kids to play soccer? Are we doing some of those things from a social aspect? Because if we're relying on the 8-year-old to do that themselves and then they're doing it online, I mean, now that's a whole bunch of other concerns. Whereas when we get some control, for a lack of better terms, but when we have clarity and awareness about the type of environment that our children are in, everybody's having a better time,
even
right?
as an adult, I mean, instead of, sitting around playing video games or watching TV, or I'm not saying that there's anything wrong. If you want to sit on the weekend and binge a series of whatever, then
Go nuts.
but yeah, go nuts. But keep in mind, there's so many. I mean, especially now in the spring and the summer, there's, farmers markets to go see. There'll be, outdoor events. There'll be tons of things that you can partake of when you
Right.
feel good to be able to do those sorts of things. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, go for a drive. Take a drive in a direction you haven't been before. I mean, maybe not with gas prices the way they are, but you know,
Go for a walk.
yeah,
Do
do those sorts of
anything.
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 Well, and it's interesting because I have a couple of clients who will use the term often. I have nobody. I have nobody. And I challenge that 100% of the time because even if you are the last human on earth, you still have this. So, for those folks who can think and hear their thoughts, even if we were alone in the bush somewhere, we'd still have this. So, we're never truly alone. But I get what it means if we're looking at it like, I don't have anybody to talk to, I don't have support, I don't have anybody who believes in me. It makes sense to me why we use that term. I used to use it before I discovered this life experience. But the reality is, we really are rarely alone. Either if, especially if we have children or even ex-spouses or siblings, or if our parents are still alive, or if we're going to work or going to the grocery store, we are never really alone. So it becomes more about being able to build connections either with a small group of people, which is common for a lot, or you have a huge group of people with a lot of acquaintances and stuff. So the connection and socializing becomes more about what type of relationships are we going to build. And if we have a belief system that we're in it alone, then it's going to be tricky. It's going to be difficult to go out and have fun. It's going to be difficult to experience life and enjoy the things around you. Because in here, we're saying those things. I don't have anybody. Where am I going to go? Nobody wants to be around me. I don't want to be anywhere. It makes it difficult to socialize, which is why it's important, again, going back to children, if we can raise them to be more self-sufficient, not by saying no, more about, well, the world is your oyster. Like if pick something and we'll try it. I mean, now again, there's cost associated to that, like especially as we've talked about before, sports like hockey and stuff can be super expensive for children. But we don't have to go all in the very beginning. It might be we'll rent a pair of skates or get some used ones and we'll just go around, the local parks, especially where we are in Alberta. There's every 3 blocks, there's a little skating rink in the winter. In the summer, we have so much green space here and lakes and rivers and places to go that there are other things we can do. But if we're heavy working parents and a lot of hours and there's no real structure around childcare when they come out of school, then we are kind of playing with fire. That means wherever our children are going, we want to make sure that they have programs in place that are outside of a phone or a computer. But you also might have, things like my grandson who are coders and want to build stuff and right. So am I going to take away that, which of something that he's probably going to be an expert in as he grows into? No. But am I going to add balance? Yeah,
Yeah.
we are going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's got to be tough. That no seems awfully negative right off the bat. It's
Yeah. So based on what we talked about today, what would you say now versus saying no, even if it were at work or at home? What would you say?
I'm not feeling it right now. I appreciate you. I think that's probably it. Yeah. I I'm not sure when I think about those words now, I'm not feeling it right now. That could bite me square in the ass too, because then there'll be, the follow-up questions. Well, are you okay? Is there something I can help with? But I love people so much. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that now.
Because
Finding
I'm
better
not
words.
feeling it is still from the rabbit
Yeah,
hole,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So instead of saying, I'm not feeling it, what would prevent you from saying, I'm feeling it's more important that I stay in? Who's going to challenge that? And even if somebody did, that would take some gumption. Well, what would be more important than coming to this party? My mental health, your safety, because if I show up, maybe not that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. Shit's gonna fly. Yeah. No, yeah.
Throat
Cause,
hug you,
cause
as you
you
like
don't,
to say.
yeah, 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 yeah. You don't want to hear what's in my head right now. But, like, you really don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then just being comfortable with being able to do that and ending it there without giving. I used to do that. Friends would invite me, family would invite me. I would create a book about why couldn't come. Like I would have every excuse under the sun. And the reality is that's never going to be pleasing to anybody. Never, because they too, on the receiving end of I can't, aren't equipped to instantly go, whew, that's just totally fine. We all experience that disappointment when we're reading and looking at words that are coming from the disappointing bucket. It would be weird, as we talk about all the time, to see a lot of lack. I can't come, don't feel like it, don't want to. It would be really weird to be able to read that and be like, huh, that's so cool. No problem. We don't do that. We would read it and be like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Or, and if we're in the rabbit hole a little bit now, we're going to be blaming you for wrecking my day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's just kind of what we do. Whereas when we say things that are from more from this upper end of the bucket, I can't come, I don't want to come, to, I'm going to make a decision to take care of me today, and finding words around that, they might be disappointed for a second, but they'll get over it pretty quickly. And again, we love them so much, that's entirely up to them to do. But you will feel better saying it.
And being okay with your decision. No guilt. Guilt is such a waste. But being okay with whatever decision you make. Go,
Yeah.
don't go, yeah, whatever it is, and being okay with that.
Yeah. And again, the only way we can be okay with truly okay with a decision is when we're making decisions from well-being. Is it in your best interest? Is it the best possible outcome? Is it in their best interest? Now, again, we say that a little bit
Yeah.
loosely, but we don't get to hurt other people so we can feel good. So it still has to be in everybody's best interest. And then is the behavior I'm bringing to the table equivalent to being able to meet that outcome? Telling somebody you appreciate them for the invite and saying rain check, I think, like, the shortest answer possible, and also doesn't provide a real explanation that you don't owe.
I think that's tough for a lot of people is not,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
doing the explanation. Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
make sure we're separating that from like a work environment. If we're obligated to go to work, you don't get to in the morning just be like, I really don't feel like going to that place today, and making that a habit, and not,
Yeah.
and then being surprised if you lose your job, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
these, we're talking about our best behavior in any environment that we're in. How do I show up from there? And when we do the work to respond from well-being, what is the intention? Right? Figuring out what that is before we do it, then yeah, everybody's happier.
Let's remind everybody the three questions.
Okay, so as in my book, which I dive into quite a bit in there, is first we want to know what is the best possible outcome to this. And we'll use the example of being invited. The best outcome to this is, one, I get to take care of myself, and two, my friend, my whatever will understand. Best outcome. Is it in the best interest of all that is, including myself? Yes, because right now I'm really feeling like I'm in the rabbit hole, and for me to truly be able to enjoy it, I'd rather move myself up the chain first, which also means it's in their best interest because they don't need to worry about me. Nobody will be behaving oddly at this event. And then, does my behavior match? Yes, because we're choosing in that moment to, one, create a little bit better of a narrative about the reason we're going to stay in versus going out. So our behavior is matching that outcome we're hoping for, getting to stay in and have them understand. As we bring this to a close, how are you feeling? Did it answer the questions today? Talk to me about what's going on for you.
I got goosies. The three questions, I still haven't memorized them all, but I'm working on it. Yes. So I feel good with decisions I can make moving forward when it comes to feeling it, not feeling it, spending some me time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before we go quickly, I just want to be able to say is one thing though, we do have accountability in not committing to things either, because we won't be able to feel good if we continually say, yeah, I'm coming, I'll go. And then we continually say, I'm not going to go, versus right from the very beginning, sounds fun, I'll give it some thought and let you know.
Yeah.
Because we won't be able to feel good by committing to things and then bailing on them, committing, bailing, committing, kind of thing. So we do want to make sure that we're making those conscious decisions before we even commit to something.
Yeah, taking a beat and thinking about it rather than being reactive. Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Checking in with ourselves constant,
Yeah.
every minute of every day. If
Yeah.
any of our listeners have any questions or comments, or hey, you want to be part of the podcast, leave your comments below. We'd love to have you. Challenge Michelle. Until next time.
Everyone. Thank you,
Thanks.
Kathy.